Before we begin the story, let us know where you're watching from by leaving a comment below. If you enjoy this video, don't forget to like and subscribe. Have a wonderful day. Enjoy the story. Emma Carter had just walked out of the little chocolate shop in the airport lobby. It had been her last job interview of the day, and just like the three before it, it ended with a polite no and a motivational flyer about never giving up. She walked through the terminal with her backpack hanging off one shoulder, her dignity slipping down her cheeks in the form of tears. Great idea coming to the airport to look for a job. Next stop selling candy in the parking lot, she muttered. She was about to go through the last automatic door when something caught her eye. An older woman, maybe in her 60s, was struggling to pull a rolling suitcase and carry a heavy purse. A man in a light dress shirt and dark sunglasses was approaching her from behind, with a look that Emma immediately judged as super suspicious. He leaned slightly forward and reached for her bag. She acted on instinct. "Hey, let go of her, you crook," she shouted, swinging her backpack like it was a secret weapon. Before the man could react, Emma slammed the bag into his back with all her strength. "Ow, what are you doing, you crazy lady?" he yelled, stumbling forward and grabbing his ribs. "Scammer, you're trying to rob this lady. I saw you. Someone call security." The older woman's eyes went wide. Her suitcase tipped over, and a pack of cookies fell from her purse. "Rob me. He was just asking if I needed help." The man slowly turned around and took off his sunglasses like he was about to give a lecture on being falsely accused. "Help me understand. You thought I was a thief?" "Of course I did. You look just like those guys in scam documentaries who wear sunglasses inside an airport. People with style and migraines," he replied. "Don't you think you're going a little overboard, and don't you think you should keep your distance from defenseless old ladies?" "Defenseless? That woman just offered me her self-defense cane. I'm traumatized." The lady watched the argument like she was enjoying a live reality show. "Young people, if you want, I can bring you both a coffee so you can settle this more calmly." The man sighed and reached into his blazer pocket. "Look before you accuse me of organ trafficking or something," he said, holding out a business card. "Noah Bennett, CEO of Bennett Ventures. I'm not a thief." Emma took the card slowly, still suspicious. "This card looks too fancy to be fake," she muttered, "but I'm still not totally convinced. I got hit with a backpack and still have to prove myself." He raised an eyebrow. "Tell me, do you attack a lot of people during the day, or am I just special?" "Only the ones who look like charming bad boys with criminal potential." He gave a short laugh. "Oh, so you do think I look charming. That's progress." She crossed her arms and looked at the card again. "Noah Bennett. Really a CEO, Google me. But maybe wait a few hours. If there's a headline like, 'Man attacked by stranger at airport,' it's probably about me." She gave a small half smile. For the first time, she started to relax a bit. "All right, sorry. Kind of. I'll accept your partial apology," he said, putting his sunglasses back on. "And believe it or not, this was the most fun I've had all week." Then, with a small wave, he calmly walked away. Emma just stood there holding the card, her face burning with embarrassment and a hint of laughter. The next day, she had already walked through half the city handing out resumes. The other half stuffed in her backpack, wrinkled, sweaty, and ignored. She sat down in a small coffee shop near the bus station with a cold buttered toast and a coffee that tasted like it was brewed back in 1998. She rested her forehead on her hand and let out a dramatic sigh that nearly turned into tears. "Is that a gray cloud floating above your head, or is it just me?" She slowly looked up, and there he was. Noah Bennett. Same blazer sunglasses hanging from his shirt collar, a small smile, and a tray with a cappuccino and a croissant. "Are you following me?" she joked, surprised. "Actually, I came to grab some coffee. But it turns out the crazy lady from the airport likes coffee too. Can I sit down?" Emma didn't say anything. She just motioned toward the empty chair. He sat down and looked at her. "So what brings you here looking all lonely and like? You missed the finale of your favorite show, Job Hunting, again. But the only offer I got today was a flyer for an online cooking course," she said. Do you know how to make coffee? If it's instant, I'm an expert." "Why?" You took a bite of the croissant, deep in thought. "Because I need a secretary. And maybe you're right for the job." She widened her eyes. "Are you crazy? We met yesterday, and only because I hit you with my bag. How does that qualify someone to be a secretary?" "Exactly. You react quickly. You've got good instincts. A bit extreme, sure, but you're not easily intimidated. That's rare. Noah, I don't even know if that's your real name." He laughed. "Look me up on Google. And while you're at it, think about the offer. Temporary position supporting a humanitarian project. Fair pay, housing included, and no bag swinging, please." She hesitated. "Okay, maybe I'll think about it." "Great," he said, grabbing a napkin and writing down his number. "Call me tomorrow, or stop by my office. Just don't bring the bag." Emma held back a laugh. Maybe he was nuts. Maybe she was too. But for the first time in days, it felt like something different was about to happen. The next day, Noah's scribbled number was still in Emma's bag. She'd barely slept, her mind racing. Secretary to a millionaire CEO, I hit with a bag at the airport, definitely wasn't on my career plan. But there she was again, walking around the city with the same old resume and the same tired smile for the same old "will be in." Touch responses. Around 10:00 in the morning, she stopped in front of a newsstand and out of pure curiosity looked at a business magazine. It didn't take long. Noah Bennett, the youngest and most mysterious CEO of the decade. The headline featured a very familiar face now without the sunglasses and with hair way too perfectly styled. The caption, "Low-profile billionaire funds groundbreaking humanitarian project in the countryside." Emma's eyes widened. Wait, he was serious. She grabbed her phone, typed the number, deleted. It took a deep breath and didn't call. Instead, she did what she always did, looked for another job. One more try, one more walk, one more rejection, until the sun started burning the back of her neck and her stomach begged for mercy. She walked into the first cafe she saw, the same one as the day before. At least the coffee was cheap. She sat in the same corner and ordered a cheese bread and a juice box, rested her face in her hand, and let out the deepest sigh of the month. And then, as if the universe had a sense of humor, "I'm starting to think you're following me now." She looked up slowly. There he was, light shirt, casual blazer, a coffee cup in hand, and that smug smile. "Either you really like this cafe or you're into lukewarm coffee and confused service. It's my new thinking spot," she said, moving over so he could sit down. Noah settled in like it was the most natural thing, took off his blazer, and rested his arms on the table like they'd been doing this for years. "So did you think about the offer? Which one being your lightning-fast secretary or running off with you to a desert island and living off coconuts?" "The first one," he smiled. "We'll talk about the second later." She let out a short laugh. "I'm still trying to figure out if you're serious, or if this is some sort of social experiment. I really do need a temporary assistant. I'm heading out to support a project in a rural area. It's remote, not easy to get to, and I need someone to help with translations, scheduling, and well, just a reliable human presence. Translations, I only speak basic English, soap opera, Spanish and pizza menu. Italian, that's already more than the last two assistants had." One of them thought bonjour was how you say good morning in Japanese. She laughed, then sighed, stirred her juice with the straw deep in thought. "Noah, I don't even know you like at all. You showed up out of nowhere, confused me, made me laugh. But I'm not exactly the ideal person for something like this." "Maybe you are," he said calmly. "You're honest, impulsive in a good way. And you have something I really value, courage and a sense of justice. Even if it's a bit clumsy. Great. Now I'm not just broke and unemployed. I'm a comic book character." "Emma, look," he leaned in a little. "This isn't a forever job. It's a short-term mission. The place is safe, and there's a whole team taking care of things. You won't be alone. Just be there with me, and I'll pay you well with a contract." "Okay, all legit." She crossed her arms. "And if I say yes, what happens? You fly out with me in 3 days. We'll go to a small town where I'm funding a school and a health center. We'll stay for about 2 weeks. You help me, and when you come back, you can say you work directly with the president of Bennett Ventures." Her eyes widened. "You do realize this sounds like one of those movie plots where the woman says yes and wakes up in a warehouse in the middle of nowhere, right? If it makes you feel better, I can sign a contract with a no-storage clause," he said, with a smile. "Is that even a thing? I can make it one." Emma bit her lower lip. Her head was screaming no, but her heart, well, her heart had already started to laugh. "Okay, but if I say yes, where am I going to sleep? Are you throwing me on a mattress in the back room? 3-star hotel. Private bathroom, and breakfast included. Air conditioning too, with fresh bread or yesterday's leftovers, reheated artisan bread. I'm almost convinced, and if you feel like hitting me with your backpack again, we can film it and turn it into an ad campaign. We'll split the profits." She laughed out loud, catching the attention of a lady sitting at the next table. "You really are crazy, huh? A little but functional and fair." She looked him in the eyes, and for the first time she saw something that wasn't arrogance or a practiced charm. It was honesty. "I don't have fancy clothes or experience with CEOs. I don't even know how to speak all proper. And that's exactly why I trust you." Emma took a deep breath. She looked at her empty glass, the cheese bread she'd finished without noticing, and the napkin where he had drawn a smiling sun in the corner. She reached out her hand. "Then you've just hired your secretary." Noah shook her hand firmly. "Welcome aboard, Emma Carter." They stayed silent for a few seconds until she added just one thing. "If you try to mess with me next time, I'll hit you with a frying pan. Appreciate the warning." The sky was gray, the day they left, as if it sensed a twist was coming. Emma showed up at the meeting point, carrying a backpack that had clearly seen better days, wearing her nicest pair of jeans and a dress shirt borrowed from her neighbor. Her hair was tied in a messy bun, and her nerves were all over the place. "I must be completely out of my mind," she muttered to herself, watching the black SUV pull up in front of her. The door opened smoothly, revealing Noah in sunglasses holding a coffee, looking like he just walked out of a cologne ad. "Good morning, Miss Carter. Ready to regret this? Oh, I've been regretting it since yesterday, but now that I'm already on this sinking ship, let's go down in style." She tossed her backpack in the back seat and got in. The driver started the engine, and they hit the road. During the ride, the silence was broken with occasional teasing. "What are you afraid of, not surviving without Wi-Fi?" Emma asked, adjusting her seatbelt. "I'm afraid you'll hit me with something else. You already used a backpack. I wouldn't be surprised if a thermos was next. Only if you deserve it." "Well, that's progress. Before you used to hit without warning. That was an act of good citizenship." Noah laughed. It was the first time she'd heard that kind of laugh from him. It wasn't the usual sarcastic smile. It was light, almost genuine. The hours passed with jokes, jabs, and Noah's failed attempts to get her to appreciate his weird taste in music, which ranged from Italian opera to video game soundtracks. "This sounds like a final boss fight theme," Emma mocked. "Exactly. That's why it's perfect for investor meetings. Sounds more like a lightsaber duel in someone's backyard." Feedback noted. "Just so you know, I've lost business partnerships for less. So you're more sensitive than you look, and you're sharper than you let on." When they arrived at the small town, they were welcomed by the local team working on the school and medical center. The place was simple, with dirt roads, colorful houses, and kids running around flying homemade kites. Emma got out of the car and looked around surprised. "This place is beautiful and it needed help. That's why I'm here." "You mean you're doing all this out of kindness?" Noah shrugged. "I'm not that noble, but I grew up watching my grandfather help villages like this. I'm just trying to do my part, or pretend to be a good guy and earn some karma." "You're strange." "Thank you." They were taken to the house where they'd be staying, a two-story place, modest but cozy. Each had their own room, to Emma's relief, who still wasn't fully convinced Noah wasn't some eccentric lunatic with kidnapping tendencies. That night after dinner with the team, Emma went up to her room, threw herself on the bed, and let out a long sigh. She was exhausted but oddly excited. Something about this place made her feel like she was exactly where she needed to be. She was almost asleep when she heard a noise in the hallway. Footsteps, then something like fast breathing. Curious, she slowly opened the door and peeked outside. There was Noah sitting at the top of the stairs, his hands trembling slightly and his forehead resting on his knees. She hesitated for a moment, then walked toward him. "Hey, are you okay?" He slowly looked up. There was no charm there, no sarcasm, just exhaustion and something else, fear. "Yeah, I just need some air. Sometimes I get hit with something like this." Emma sat beside him quietly. "Want me to get you some water?" "No, just stay here." So she did, without asking anything. Just stayed. After a few minutes, he turned slightly and said, "When I was a kid, my older brother died in a place kind of like this. We were working on a project with my grandfather. A silly accident and expired medicine. No one knew what to do. It happened fast." Emma stayed quiet. That explained a lot, his reserved way, the obsessive support for medical facilities in remote areas. "Is that why you decided to come back to these places?" she asked softly. "Partly. I wanted to fix what I couldn't back then, even if it's too late now." She gently leaned her shoulder against his, a light, almost unintentional gesture. He didn't pull away. "You're not alone in this." He slowly turned to face her. His eyes were red but still steady. "You're kinder than you let on, Emma. And you're more fragile than you like to admit." Was that a compliment? That was a tie. He gave a faint smile. "Thanks for staying. I just figured if you fell down the stairs, I'd be the one stuck carrying you. Always so sweet, you." "I do my best." They stayed there in silence, watching the dark sky through the hallway window. For the first time in a long while, Emma didn't feel like she was just surviving. She felt like she was living. And Noah, well, he was starting to realize that the girl who once called him a con man at the airport might be the only person who could truly see him, not the image the world had shaped for him. That morning, the sun peeked shyly through the clouds, casting golden tones over the clay rooftops and twisted trees of the village. Emma woke up before her alarm, not out of anxiety, but because she'd slept better than she expected. For the first time in weeks, she'd had a light dream, a distant childhood free from bills or job interviews. She walked down the stairs quietly, trying not to make a sound. In the kitchen, she found a local man making coffee in an iron kettle and whistling an unfamiliar tune. She greeted him with a nod and a smile before stepping out the side door. Outside, the air was fresh, and the silence felt almost sacred. Children were playing in the distance, and a group of women washed clothes by the stream. Emma walked toward the small trail leading to the cultivation field where locals cared for medicinal herbs. It was her first task of the day to join the team's biologist, Mrs. Nora, in collecting and sorting plants for the new care center, but Noah showed up before she reached the gate. "Up early?" he asked, appearing out of nowhere like a ghost in a slightly wrinkled blazer. "I'm poor. I'm used to waking up early and going to bed late," she said, pretending to be serious. "Unlike CEOs who wake up to classical music and coffee brought in by butlers, I don't sleep much, and my Alexa still can't make coffee. The day she does, you people will replace humanity." Noah walked beside her, hands in his pockets, looking calm. "Going to the field today, yep. I'm going to learn the difference between burdock and... this stuff cures anything. Girl that just doesn't pay your bills." He chuckled. "Mind if I tag along? Thought you had a meeting with the architects today." "They can wait. You're not always." Emma gave him a suspicious side glance. "You're being a little too nice, and you're more suspicious than a cat on bath day. That's just how I am." Out in the field, the visit turned out to be more fun than they expected. Mrs. Nora, a woman in her early 50s with the humor of a teenager and endless patience, explained each plant like she was introducing characters from a soap opera. "This one here is the queen. Cures headaches, back pain, and even heartache," she said, pointing at a thin, long leaf. Emma tried not to laugh. Noah asked serious questions, but always had a slight smile, like he found the guide's way of speaking amusing. "What about this one?" He pointed at a small red plant with a strong smell. "Oh, that one's tricky. Use too much, and you'll get a stomachache. Use too little, and it does nothing, just like some people." Emma raised an eyebrow at Noah, laughing. "Hear that they just described you as a plant. Well, at least I'm medicinal." "That's a step up," he shot back. During the walk, Emma tripped over a thick root. She didn't fall, but twisted her ankle with a sharp crack. She tried to play it off, but the pain on her face said it all. "Ouch. Ouch. I hate that plant." Noah rushed over. "Sit down." "I'm fine." "I just sit down, Emma. No heroics." "Not today." She sat down on a rock. Noah crouched and carefully examined her ankle. His touch was gentle, but firm. "It doesn't look broken, just twisted. It's going to swell a bit," he said, frowning. "It's okay. I can handle it." "Great. Then you'll let me carry you." What, before she could protest, he had already picked her up with ease. "Noah, I've got 2 working legs. You don't need to, I know, but you've also got a serious case of stubbornness. And I'm the medicine now." That was cheesy. "I do my best." She mumbled something under her breath, but didn't resist. She was tired. It hurt more than she wanted to admit, and deep down, being carried like that made her feel strangely safe and small and seen. Back at the house, Noah settled her on the living room couch, grabbed a bucket of cold water, and made a quick cold compress with a clean towel. "You know, you could have been a doctor," she said, watching how carefully he wrapped her ankle. "I almost was. My parents wanted that. I wanted that, but after my brother died, I couldn't do it anymore." She stayed quiet, waiting for him to go on. "He was everything I wanted to be. Smart, kind. He knew everything about first aid. On that trip, he was supposed to save lives, not lose his. And you think you failed, I'm sure of it," he said without hesitation. "I was just a stupid teenager who thought money could fix everything. But all the money in the world didn't save my brother." Emma held the towel on her ankle and looked at him. "You know this isn't your fault, right? I've heard that, but I never believed it." "Then hear it from me. It's not your fault, Noah. Not even close. Your heart was in the right place. And now you're here trying to fix the world with schools, doctors, food time. That means so much more." He gave her a tired smile. "You always say the right thing at the wrong time. And you always show up when I least expect it. Maybe we're just 2 accidents waiting to happen, or 2 messes that fit together." Their eyes met for a moment that lasted just a bit too long. A moment where no words were needed, just quiet breathing, the towel, dripping water, and a comfortable silence between 2 strangers beginning to understand each other. "Thank you for taking care of me," she said. "This time I took care of you. Next time it's your turn. But no more bag swinging." "Okay, no promises." They laughed together as if laughing was the only way to say, "I'm here with you," without actually saying it. The next few days in the village moved at a pace Emma could only describe as bittersweet. In the mornings, they watched the school construction progress. In the afternoons, they helped the medical team stock the makeshift pharmacy. At night, sometimes, Emma and Noah sat on the porch steps, sharing stories about their very different lives. Hers, simple and full of everyday challenges. His grand and weighed down by responsibilities few could see. Even though teasing had become their main way of communicating, it was clear they were growing closer, and it was also clear that the peace wouldn't last. On a hot Wednesday afternoon, the village was celebrating. A small shipment of donations had arrived, boxes of food, medicine books, and toys for the children. Emma was helping unload supplies when she noticed something odd. One of the local coordinators, a woman named Lila Harper, always smiling, and just a bit too observant, approached Noah with a concerned expression. "Mr. Bennett, could we talk for a minute?" Noah nodded serious and followed her to the shade of a nearby tree. Emma, carrying a box of toys, couldn't help but glance sideways. Not that she was nosy, of course, just observant. The conversation looked tense. Lila was gesturing a lot, and Noah stood with his arms crossed, listening without interrupting. Suddenly, Lila discreetly pointed at Emma. Emma's stomach dropped. Noah frowned, said something in a low voice. Lila insisted. Emma forced a smile and kept stacking boxes, but her senses were on full alert. A few minutes later, Noah walked over, his expression unreadable. "Can we talk?" "The world seemed to slow down," she said, trying to sound relaxed. He guided her to a quiet spot away from everyone. "I was told that some of the donation money is missing." He started straight to the point. "And what does that have to do with me?" Emma shot back, eyes wide. "They said you received the last shipment and that you were alone with the supplies for a while before the inventory was done." Emma felt her face flush. "Are you accusing me?" "I'm not accusing," Noah said quickly. I need to ask. I need to know." The words hit like a punch. All that time, Emma had let herself believe he really saw her, that he trusted her. But there he was, hesitating, doubting. She took a step back, her chest tight. "You know what's funny?" Her voice cracked, but she didn't back down. "You met me while I was hitting you with a backpack because I thought you were robbing an old lady. And even then you laughed. You offered me a job. You brought me here. And now that someone points a finger at me, you stop and look at me like I'm this." "Emma, No, Noah, I get it." She grabbed her backpack, the old one, the first witness to their story, and without looking back, started walking down the dirt road toward the small town. Noah just stood there watching her go, not knowing what to say, not knowing how to fix something that maybe shouldn't have been broken in the first place. The walk back felt much longer without Noah around. Every step weighed like she was carrying a bag full of invisible stones. Emma tried to convince herself it didn't hurt, that it was just another disappointment in a long line of many, but she knew that wasn't true. Once she reached town, she found a cheap room for the night, and the next day started looking for tickets to head home. Meanwhile, back in the village, Noah started digging quietly. Something didn't add up. He checked records, talked to the volunteers, reviewed the makeshift security camera footage. And little by little, the truth came out. The coordinator, Lila Harper, had been siphoning funds for months. And when she noticed Noah getting too close to the locals, too observant, she used Emma as a scapegoat. The realization hit him like a thunderclap. Noah felt sick to his stomach. He had doubted Emma right when she needed him, the most when she deserved it the least. And now maybe it was too late. 2 days later, in a roadside diner, the kind where coffee comes in oversized mugs and the soundtrack is a mix of off-station radios, Emma was doodling on a napkin when she heard the bell above the door ring. She didn't need to look up to know who it was. Noah. No sharp dress shirt, no expensive blazer, just jeans, a plain t-shirt, and eyes full of guilt. He walked over to her table like he was crossing a minefield. "Emma." She kept doodling on the napkin. "Here to accuse me of stealing the sugar, too. I came to apologize." She finally looked at him in the eyes. And it hurt, because she still liked him, and because trusting him had hurt more than being accused. "I found out it was Lila. She'd been stealing funds for months. She used you to cover it up." Emma crossed her arms. "Did you figure that out on your own, or did someone else have to knock on your door to clue you in?" Noah looked down. "I was late, and I have no excuse. I just want you to know it was a mistake, a bad one, and I'm really sorry." She sighed. What she wanted to do was yell or hit him, maybe dump the sugar bowl on his head. But instead, she said, "So what now? You want me to come back and be your secretary again?" Noah gave a sad smile. "I want you to come back because I miss you, not as a secretary, as you." Emma Carter, the airport girl, the one who takes on a CEO with a backpack, and somehow heals broken hearts without even noticing. She bit her lip, thinking, "And the pay doubled," he said, without hesitation. "And breakfast included. Every day. I promise not to burn the bread." Emma sighed, pretending to think it over. "And if I feel like hitting you again, only if it's with love," he said, opening his arms. She laughed, really laughed, and realized she was tired of holding on to anger, and maybe some people did deserve a second chance. Emma stood up, grabbed her worn-out backpack and said, "All right then, boss. Let's go before I change my mind." Noah smiled, relieved, and walking beside her, he knew one thing for sure. He didn't want to lose Emma again. Not ever. The town looked even grayer after she got back. Emma stared at the bakery sign on the corner like it was an old enemy. Fresh bread starting at 6:00 a.m. She'd gotten up at 5:30, taken a lukewarm shower at the guest house, and put on the least wrinkled clothes from her bag. She was ready for another round of job hunting. But unlike other times, something had changed. and she knew exactly what, or rather who. Noah Bennett wasn't easy to forget, and it wasn't just because he'd burst into her life like a whirlwind in a pressed blazer. It was the way he asked questions no one ever had. The way he looked at her like he was trying to solve a puzzle. The way he listened when she talked about little things like the best way to fry an egg without breaking the yolk. Emma sighed, and then without thinking she stepped into the bakery. She bought a coffee and a roll. Then she hit the street backpack on her shoulders, folder of resumes in hand, and that old mantra in her head, one more day, one more try. After hours of walking, handing out papers and hearing different versions of the classic, "We'll get back to you," Emma sat down in a park. The concrete bench was cold and uncomfortable, but she didn't even notice. She pulled out her phone, stared at the screen for a moment, and scrolled through her photo gallery. There was one Noah had secretly taken her holding a child in her lap, laughing, as the little girl decorated her with banana leaves. "Cheesy," she mumbled, but she didn't have the heart to delete it. She turned off the phone and just watched people come and go. An older man feeding pigeons, a woman arguing on the phone, a boy trying to fly a kite with no wind. Life went on without her. Later, she decided to go into a new cafe that looked cheap enough for what she had left in her wallet. She ordered a cheese bread, a coffee, and sat at the last table by the window. She watched the street through the glass, the world moving at a pace that felt completely different from hers. And then, as if the universe insisted on placing them in the same scene, he showed up. Noah. No blazer, no attitude, just a gray t-shirt, jeans, and sneakers that had clearly seen better days. He looked ordinary, almost normal. Emma saw him before he saw her. She thought about hiding behind the menu, about leaving, about pretending to be someone else, but she couldn't. He saw her, stopped for a second, and smiled. A small, slightly nervous smile, like someone who knows they're stepping into unfamiliar territory. "Hi," he said, approaching carefully. "Do you follow cafes around? Or is this some kind of movie coincidence?" "Coincidence. But can I sit?" She hesitated, then nodded. "There's cheese bread, but the coffee is weak." "I'm not here for the coffee." He sat down slowly, as if she might change her mind at any second. "So you're back in town?" "Yeah. And you came to take care of a few things. Think, get a little lost maybe. Getting lost is easy around here. Finding a good job, not so much." He gave a half smile. "I figured you'd be working again by now. I am actively being ignored." They were quiet for a few seconds. Then Noah said, "I missed you, you know." She didn't answer. He went on. "When you left, the village felt different. The place, the people, even me. You don't seem like the kind of guy who misses anyone. Maybe not, but you're not just anyone." Emma looked away toward the street. There was a lump in her throat. She didn't want to admit. "So is that why you came to say you missed me?" "Not just that." He pulled a folded paper from his pocket and laid it on the table. "What's this?" "A map of a new project in the mountains, more remote, more complicated, but important, and I want you to come with me." Emma looked at him. "You're asking me on another mission." "It's not just a mission. It's an offer." She raised an eyebrow. "An offer. I want you to be my partner on this project officially, not as a secretary or an assistant. I want you to think with me, plan, build. I want you as my ally." That sounds like a lot of responsibility and not much pay. Same pay, as always, but now with emotional bonus. She let out a short laugh. "Noah, why me?" "Because you see what no one else sees. Because you don't treat me like a CEO. Because you make me laugh. And because since you left everything feels dull." She looked at him long and deep, like someone searching for cracks in the words. "What if I say no? I'll wait a little longer. Then I'll show up at another cafe and another until you say yes. And if I say yes, I'll bring cheese bread every day, and you can pick the soundtrack for the trip." She smiled. "Even if it's country pop." "Now you're really testing my generosity." They both laughed. The tension started to melt like sugar in coffee. Emma picked up the paper, unfolded it, and studied the map. "It's far. Very. It's risky. Quite a bit. And you're not even sure it'll work." "Not at all." She folded the paper and put it in her bag. "When do we leave?" Noah smiled like a boy who just got an unexpected gift. "Tomorrow, if you're ready." "I was born ready. Just took a few years of stumbling to realize it." He looked at her like he wanted to say something more, like he had something long held inside. But he held back. "Thank you for trusting me again. Don't push it. It's trust in installments, with interest, high ones." The next day, Noah showed up at the guest house door with a rental car, a big backpack, and a crooked smile. "Ready? Never. But let's go." During the trip, the scenery began to change from the busy city to open fields, dirt roads, and finally mountains. Tall, green, majestic mountains. "This place looks like something out of a book," she said, gazing out the window. "And it's about to become a new chapter. Feeling philosophical today, huh?" "That's your fault. Mine. You make me deeper and more sarcastic." A perfect combo. They arrived at the village near sunset. The air was fresh, and the silence was broken only by birds and the sound of a distant waterfall. They were greeted by a small local team and taken to a simple wooden house with 2 bedrooms and a porch facing the sunset. So Noah asked as she explored the place, "I like it. Smells like a challenge. And old coffee, but we can fix that." That night they sat on the porch, blankets over their shoulders and mugs in their hands. Emma, huh? Why did you say yes? She thought for a moment. Because I'm tired of chasing things that don't exist. And you. She turned to face him. You're not perfect, but you're real. And I trust that. I trust you. Noah smiled then in a softer voice. What if I told you this project was just an excuse for what? To be with you. Emma stayed silent, then answered with a gentle smile. Then let's make it worth it. And there on that wooden porch, surrounded by quiet mountains and a sky full of stars, the 2 of them began something new. Not a plan, not a contract, but something rarer. A silent promise that what they found in each other mattered more than any deal on paper. Waking up to the sounds of nature was a rare privilege for Emma. For a moment, when she opened her eyes and saw the rustic wooden ceiling of their new place, she forgot they were in the middle of a humanitarian project in the mountains. She almost thought she was on vacation, until she heard a quick knock on the door. Emma, you awake? It was Noah. Depends. Is there coffee? There's a kettle with warm water and a pack of crackers. Paradise is right there in the kitchen. Then yes, I'm up. She got up laughing, put on sweatpants, and left the room. In the small makeshift kitchen, Noah was wearing a floral apron, clearly borrowed, and stirring something in a pot with what looked like confidence, but smelled like disaster. Can I ask what you're doing, Oatmeal? That smells burnt. It's a rustic touch. Smoky. Noah, you're great at saving communities, but in the kitchen you're a health hazard. Good thing we've got a cook on duty then, he said, handing her the spoon. Want to try it? Emma looked at the spoon like it might be toxic, then chuckled and accepted the challenge. Tasty, she said, swallowing hard. Tastes like childhood abandoned. Noah laughed, rinsing the spoon. Okay, we'll call this a symbolic breakfast. The real food comes when the volunteers get here. After eating what they could and laughing just enough, they headed to the new construction site, a school made of wood and stone on what used to be an overgrown lot. The structure was starting to take shape, but there were still plenty of challenges. That foundation looks crooked, Emma said, pointing to the left corner of the site. If it rains hard, this will sink. I noticed too. I called the engineer to recheck the numbers. That's great, boss, she teased. Learning to delegate. After you gave me a lesson on how to use a hoe without looking like a tourist, I figured I should listen more. See, living with me changes lives. It does. Mine's already turned upside down. Emma looked away but couldn't hide her smile. In the days that followed, a routine settled in. They woke up early, organized supplies, held meetings with the locals, and assigned tasks. At night, they sat on the porch and talked about everything from international politics to rice pudding recipes. But something lingered in the air. A silent tension, a growing urge to close the gap between their chairs on the porch. A glance that lasted half a second too long. And then on a rainy afternoon, while checking supply boxes inside one of the storage rooms, the unexpected happened. Hey, hold this box. It's heavy, Emma said, handing over a container of medicine. Noah took the box, but it slipped a bit. Reflexively, he grabbed her with one arm, and his other hand landed on hers. Neither of them moved. The box hit the ground with a dull thud. Emma looked at his hand over hers, then looked at him. Why are you holding me? For safety. The box already fell. I know. Silence. So still about safety? No. Now it's impulse. She laughed, a little nervous, but she didn't back away. If I punch you right now, it'll just be a reflex. I'll take the risk. He stepped closer. Their faces were so near she could feel the warmth of his breath. Noah, just tell me if this isn't the right time. And if it is, then I'll try not to ruin it. The kiss happened slowly, with hesitation and urgency all at once. It wasn't planned. It wasn't forced. It was inevitable. When they pulled back, Emma still had her eyes closed. And when she opened them, Noah's face was serious, but his eyes held a new kind of light. Was that a mistake? He asked. No, but it's a problem. Why? Because now everything's more complicated. Maybe simpler. Do you always see the glass half full? I see you, and that's enough for me. In the days that followed, they tried to act like nothing had changed, but everything had. The way his arm brushed hers in the kitchen, the way she said good morning with a softer smile, the little jokes, the long silences, it was all telling. And then came the crisis. One of the village kids showed up with a high fever. Soon after, 3 more. The care center wasn't ready yet, and the doctor who was supposed to arrive that week was delayed due to logistics. Emma jumped into action. She set up an emergency room, made beds with blankets, and worked with basic meds and thermometers. Noah handled communication with the central team, trying to get help faster. That night, Emma barely slept. She paced back and forth, checking on the kids, writing down symptoms. She felt the weight of the world on her shoulders, and even more because now that world was shared with him. Around 3:00 in the morning, Noah walked into the room, eyes red from exhaustion. "How are they? Fever's under control for now, but I don't know how long we can keep this up. I asked for outside help. A volunteer group is already on the way. They should be here in the morning." "Good. Until then, we turn into superheroes." Noah stepped closer and touched her shoulder. "You already are. You always have been." She looked at him, and for the first time since the kiss, she didn't look away. "I'm scared this whole thing could fall apart. That we'll fail. You might fail at a lot of things, Emma, but never at trying. And with you, what if I mess up with you? Then we'll mess up together, but I promise I won't let you go." She smiled, tired, but touched. "Thank you." "For what?" "For being here, for not walking away. It's not just the world that needs you, Emma. I need you too." The next morning, help arrived. Doctors, nurses, equipment. Little by little, things came under control. By the third afternoon, the kids were playing again outside, and calm slowly returned to the village. Emma and Noah sat under a tree watching the scene. "You know, I almost left again," she said, looking off into the distance. "When that night with the fever, I felt so helpless. Thought maybe you'd be better off without me, Emma. But then I looked at you running back and forth, trying to help, trying to fix things. And I realized you're scared too. But you don't run from it. And I didn't want to run from that. You're braver than you think, and you're more human than you let on." He took her hand, gently intertwining their fingers. "Emma, I don't know how this ends, but I want to try for real. Me too. Even if it goes wrong, then we'll get it right by trying." He smiled. And so did she. And in that moment, under that tree, without any dramatic kisses or movie-style declarations, they made a silent promise that no matter what came next, they would face it together. Like two stubborn, brave, and slightly offbeat survivors of fate. Back in the city, everything felt louder, grayer, and strangely small. After weeks in nature, helping communities and facing emergencies firsthand, walking through crowded streets full of honking and flashing signs felt almost offensive. Noah drove in silence, eyes fixed on the traffic. Emma sat beside him, watching tall buildings pass by the window, like she was returning to a world that no longer felt like hers. "I already miss the smell of eucalyptus," she said, breaking the silence. "And I miss the burnt food from our makeshift kitchen," Noah replied, half smiling. "Come on, admit it. It was the best smoked oatmeal you've ever had." "If that was oatmeal, then it's the only time someone's tried to poison me with breakfast." She laughed, and so did he. But there was something different this time. Something softer. The kind of laughter that comes not just from a joke, but from remembering a moment that meant something. They parked in front of the Bennett Ventures building, tall, mirrored, cold, a stark contrast to the mountains. Emma swallowed hard as she stepped out of the car. "Wow, this place feels more intimidating now." "It's just a building," Noah said, pulling her suitcase. "To you, maybe. I still feel like I'm going to trip in the lobby and knock over some executive with my backpack. If that's going to happen, let me know. I'll bring popcorn." They walked in together. The employees paused for a second, surprised to see Noah actually smiling, and with someone even whispered something, but he didn't care. For the first time, he walked through that place as someone who had returned from something greater and was ready to change everything. The following days were a mix of adjustment and reflection. Noah seemed different. Meetings kept happening. Emails piled up, but there was something different in his pace. The cold, calculated, straightforward CEO was still there. But now he took pauses. He listened. His silences were longer, and his answers less automatic. Emma noticed, and so did the staff. "What happened to the boss?" One of the assistants whispered in the hallway. "He even asked how my weekend was. Maybe he's running a fever," another joked. "No, he's in love." Emma pretended not to hear, but it was impossible to ignore. She herself had come back changed. Before, she carried a resume like a sign that said, "Please accept me." Now she carried stories, small scars on her ankle, a confidence that didn't come from diplomas, but from surviving, from showing up. She didn't have an official title yet. Noah kept saying she was free to create her own. But for now, she just wanted to watch, understand, see up close what he did and how she could do it better. One Wednesday afternoon, while organizing reports in the small, bright office Noah had given her, Emma heard a knock at the door. "Are you busy?" he asked, holding a glass of juice. "Always, but I multitask." "Come in." He walked in and sat in the guest chair like a client. "I wanted to show you something," he said, pulling an envelope out of his backpack. She raised an eyebrow. "You carry a backpack now." "Side effect of spending time with backpackers," he said, handing over the envelope. Inside were a few papers and an architectural sketch. "What's this?" "A new project, but personal." She looked through it. It was a draft of a community center with a play area, medical offices, a reading room, and a greenhouse. "Looks like a full social center." "Yeah, for a nearby community. A poorer neighborhood." I heard there's an abandoned lot that could be put to good use. And you want to do this? I don't want to. I'm going to. And I want you to run it with me." Emma looked at him. There was honesty there and quiet hope. "Are you offering me a job?" "Now I'm offering you a purpose. The job title can come later." She picked up the paper slowly. "I'll do it, but under one condition." "What's that?" "That you stop looking at me like that every time I say yes to something." "Like what?" "Like you're in love." He didn't answer right away, just smiled. "And what if I am?" Emma looked away, pretending to rearrange the papers. "Well, that complicates things or makes everything better." She shook her head. "You were easier to deal with when you only made exploding oatmeal, and you were more predictable when you kept calling me a con artist. Kind, trailing, system." The response was cut off due to length constraints. Below is the continuation of the revised script, with all character names and ages changed, maintaining the content structure and length of the original. "I've missed that version of me." "I don't," he said firmly. "I like who you are now." She didn't say anything, but inside her heart was on fire. That night, Emma stepped out onto the balcony to get some air. The wind was cold, but the quiet was welcome. The city below was busy as always, but up here it felt like time had stopped. Noah showed up a few minutes later. "You okay? Just thinking. Want help?" "You already help just by being quiet sometimes." He leaned against the railing next to her. "I've been thinking about a lot," he said, looking out over the lights. "About what I want, who I am, outside of meetings, what I feel." "And what do you feel?" He looked at her, his face serious. "No jokes this time. That life makes more sense with you in it." Emma held her breath. "Noah, I know this isn't the perfect moment, that there's a lot going on, but I had to say it." She nodded slowly. "I've been thinking too, and maybe for the first time I'm not scared of what's next." He smiled and held out his hand. "Then stay with me in this project, in this crazy ride in this life." Emma took his hand. "I'm already here, Noah, and I'm not going anywhere." They stood there hand in hand looking at the city. It was the middle of the night when Emma woke up, startled by her phone vibrating non-stop. For a moment she thought she was back in the village, about to handle another emergency with a feverish child. But no, she was in her small apartment overlooking a completely unglamorous parking lot. The name on the screen blinked: Mrs. Evelyn, doorkeeper of Noah's building. "Hello?" Emma answered, her voice groggy. "Miss, I'm sorry to call this late, but I thought you should know." "Mr." Noah ran out of the building. He looked really upset. There were some reporters outside saying things. He got in his car and left without a word. Reporters. Yeah, 4 of them, with cameras, microphones, talking about some old scandal. I didn't get all of it, but Noah went pale. "I thought I should let you know." She thanked the caller and hung up. Her heart was racing, her head spinning. She thought about calling him, about going to the building, but something made her open her phone's browser instead. And there it was. Old scandal resurfaces. CEO Noah Bennett, accused of covering up failures in humanitarian projects funded by his company. Leaked documents reveal the truth. Emma read in silence. Every word felt like a stab. According to the article, a project funded by Bennett Ventures years ago had serious flaws in the construction of a medical center. There were records of harmed patients, even one death due to medical negligence. The documents suggested the company had known about the risks and chose to keep them quiet. She knew this had happened before Noah became CEO. But did he know? Had he chosen to stay silent? Her hands were shaking. Her head was spinning. Memories of the village. The laughter, the promises made at the foot of the mountains, all tangled up with a fresh wave of doubt. Hours later, now morning, Emma went to Bennett Ventures headquarters. The atmosphere in the building was tense, with people in impromptu meetings and reporters camped outside. Upstairs, she found Noah's personal assistant visibly shaken. He left before dawn, didn't say where he was going, just told me to cancel everything. Emma thanked her and walked into his office. It was empty, but there was an envelope on the desk with her name handwritten on it. Heart pounding, she opened it. "Emma, when I met you, I thought you'd be the most unpredictable part of my life. Now I realize you're the most steady part. Before this story grows any bigger, I need to step away. Not out of fear, but because this isn't about me. It's about the projects we still have to complete, about the people who need them to continue. If I stay, the media will turn this into a circus. If I disappear for a few days, maybe they'll focus on what truly matters." I didn't want to leave without saying something, but I also couldn't look you in the eye knowing I was letting you down. I'll be back soon, and when I return, if you're still here, I promise I'll tell you everything. Noah. Emma sat in his chair and read the letter 4 times. The words felt honest, but honesty sometimes wasn't enough, and she knew that better than anyone. In the days that followed, Noah vanished. No emails, no messages. Emma tried to carry on with the work. The community center was still a priority, but there were too many gaps. Gaps no one else seemed to notice, only her. The walls might have been standing, the plans underway, but inside everything felt quietly incomplete. That's when she decided to look for the only person who might know where Noah was his grandfather, Mr. Arthur Bennett. She had briefly met him at an event, a refined, straightforward man with the kind of gaze that sees through lies. She found a number, made a call, and arranged a meeting. "You've got courage," Arthur said as she arrived. "No one from the press tried to call me, but you came here in person." "I'm not here as a journalist. I came as someone who cares about your grandson." They were sitting in a quiet garden behind an old mansion. Arthur served tea, the kind of man who kept his manners even in a crisis. "Did he tell you about the 2015 project?" the gentleman asked. "No, but I read about it, and he disappeared before he could explain." Arthur sighed. Back then, Noah wasn't CEO. He was just an intern sticking his nose where it didn't belong. When the problem started, he tried to report it, but the board shut it down. He was pushed aside. When I took over the company for my son, I brought Noah back, and he became the man you know. So he tried to stop it and failed, and he's been carrying that ever since. The guilt, the helplessness, the thought that he should have done more. He doesn't disappear out of shame. He hides because he's afraid of letting down the few people who truly believe in him. Emma felt a lump in her throat. "Do you know where he is now?" "I do, but I won't tell you." Her eyes widened. "Why not?" "Because if you truly want to find him, you'll know where to look, because only someone who really understands him knows where he runs when everything falls apart." She left angry, and with a heavy feeling in her chest that only kept growing. She stayed up all night turning over memories in her mind. She remembered the day Noah had that breakdown on the stairs back in the village, the place where he said he felt closest to his brother, the smell of wet earth, the mountains, the twisted trees. And then she realized the road, the same road that led to the village where it all began. The next morning she got in a car and drove for hours. The path was familiar, but her anxiety made everything feel new and uncertain. By the time she finally reached the village, the sun was already beginning to slip behind the hills. And there he was sitting on the porch of the school, under construction, hair messy, beard unshaven, his expression lost in the distance. She got out of the car without saying a word, just walked toward him. He saw her, stood up, but didn't move. "So this is where you come to hide," she said, her voice trembling. "This is where I remember who I want to be," he replied. "I read your letter, and you came anyway." She nodded. "You should have told me everything sooner." "I know, but I was afraid. Afraid of losing me." Emma took a step closer. "We only lose what we leave behind, and I'm here. Doesn't that mean something?" He looked at her like he was seeing light after days in the dark. "I still want you in this with me, even when everything feels like it's falling apart. Then stop running. Face it with me." He held out his hand. "Can you forgive me?" She took it. "Only if you promise that next time you run away you take me with you." They laughed and he pulled her into a tight hug, strong, real. The sky above the village was cloudy, but Emma felt something light in her chest. Since finding Noah again on that porch, the two of them had started walking side by side once more, with no rush, no promises, but with something stronger than words. A quiet choice to stay. That morning, after a quick breakfast of leftover bread and butter softened by the sun, they went out for a walk. Just a walk. As if the whole world could wait a few more hours. "You know what I realized," Noah said, kicking a little stone along the dirt road. "That you don't know how to make coffee." Emma teased, smiling. "I already knew that. I'm talking about something else. About me." "Oh, then it's serious. Go ahead." "I've always chased the idea of being someone important, the successful CEO, the responsible grandson, the guy who fixes everything. But with you, I don't need to be any of that. Just an ordinary guy with dirty sneakers. Just someone who can listen and laugh at himself. Someone who can mess up and still be accepted." Emma walked in silence for a few steps. Then she replied, "I realized something about me too. What is it that I always felt like I had to prove something to the world? That being poor, simple, without a fancy degree put me behind everyone else. But when I walked into that village with you, I saw that I didn't need to race. I was already on the right path." Noah stopped, turned to face her. "You're stronger than you think, and you're more vulnerable than you show. Maybe that's why we work. Or maybe it's just luck." They laughed, and for a few moments everything felt right. Back in the city a week later, life picked up again, but with new energy. Noah returned to leading projects with a different view. More collaborative. More aware. Emma now had a title, Social Impact Coordinator. "Sounds important," she said when she saw her new badge. "It is because you are Noah Mainpage," Noah replied, handing her a mug that read Chief of Reality. But not everything was celebration. One Friday night, while they were sorting through papers in her office, Noah got a call from his grandfather. "I need you to go to Germany for a few days," Arthur said over the phone. "There's a conference with our European partners, and you're the only one who can convince the board that the company is still trustworthy." Noah turned to Emma. "My grandfather wants me to go right away. It'd be 4 or 5 days at most." She nodded. "Of course, go. I was thinking of taking you with me." She looked at him. "Germany? I barely speak English." What would I even do there? Be yourself. And that's enough to keep me sane. Emma smiled, but then grew serious. Noah, I don't know. We just found our way back to each other, and you know I'm still trying to find my place here. Going to another country right now feels like too big of a step. He nodded slowly. I understand. Really, go do what you need to do, and when you come back we'll pick up where we left off. Promise only. If you promise to come back. He came closer, holding her hands. I promise. Noah left 2 days later. At the airport, their goodbye kiss was long, silent, and full of promises. Neither of them dared to say out loud. Emma went back home with the strange feeling that a part of her had boarded that plane. During the first 2 days, they messaged each other constantly. I arrived. It's freezing, but the croissants are good. It's hot here. And the bakery burned the bread again. Come back soon. On the third day, the messages slowed down. Meetings time zones, busy schedules. On the fourth day, silence. And that's when something started to shift inside Emma. She went to visit the old village on her own. She wanted to see her friends again, understand what could be improved in the community center, and see for herself what they were building with the project's funds. On her way back, she stopped at the nearby town's train station for a coffee. While she waited for her order, she overheard 2 women talking at the next table. I saw it on television, right? He's in Europe with that blonde woman from the international projects. Oh yes, the director from the German Foundation. They say they're always together. Emma froze, not out of jealousy, but out of fear. Fear of believing too much, of diving in alone. She took a deep breath, pushed the thoughts away, and went home. But that night she couldn't sleep. The next day, Noah sent a message, I'm coming back tomorrow. Meetings run late today. I can't wait to see you. Emma replied simply, I'll be waiting. But she didn't say where. He arrived the next morning, tired, unshaven, but with a smile that could melt any wall. I thought of going to your place, but I figured you might be here. Emma was at the community center, sitting on the floor, playing with 3 kids while waiting for a meeting. You were right, she said, standing up. But I didn't expect you to come here first. You're my first stop, always. She smiled, but there was something held back. Noah noticed. Did something happen? I missed you, and I didn't know what to do with that. He moved closer slowly. I missed you too, but now I'm here. Noah, I'm scared. Of what? That this is all too good to be true. That one day, you'll wake up and remember you belong to another world. A world of polished people, travels, conferences, and bilingual blondes. He understood immediately. You heard about the German director I did. Emma, she's married and has 3 kids. We only worked together. It was all professional. You can even call her if you want. She looked down, feeling awkward. I'm sorry. It's just that I care, maybe more than I should. He gently lifted her chin. You should care because I care too. More than I can say, more than I know how to show. And now we start again and again, as many times as it takes. She nodded. Just promise me one thing, anything, that the next trip will be with me. You don't even have to ask. It's already part of the plan. If someone had told Emma she'd one day be sitting in a meeting with executives explaining social impact concepts and speaking confidently about human values, she probably would have laughed or run away. But there she was, wearing a white shirt, dark jeans, and the Bennett Ventures badge hanging proudly on her chest. Next to her, Noah focused, but with that little smile every time she spoke. Our goal isn't just to build buildings. It's to build belonging places that bring dignity, where people feel seen, Emma said firmly, in front of a table full of board members. One of them, an older man with round glasses and a French accent, nodded. This is more than strategy. It's purpose. Emma smiled, and Noah, without saying a word, gently held her hand under the table. Later in the elevator, she leaned against the wall and let out a breath. Was it awful? She asked. It was perfect, Noah answered. You were made for this. I was made to carry heavy backpacks and chase down scammers, and ended up changing the direction of my life. So keep going. Sometimes it still feels unreal. You know what does. All of this, us. The projects, the feelings. Emma, none of this is unreal. It's what we built. Brick by brick, word by word. She looked at him. And what about what we're still going to build? Noah smiled, but didn't answer. Not yet. The following week, they decided to take a break from the corporate chaos. They went back to the village where it all began. The project was running well. The school was open. The medical center was active, and the children happy. It felt like coming home. One afternoon, they walked up the hill, where they had talked for the first time under the clear sky. This is where I truly saw you for the first time, Noah said. And it's also where you made me cry for the first time, Emma replied with a hint of humor. I made you cry when you doubted me. I pretended it was fine, but inside it felt like an earthquake. Noah lowered his eyes. I still regret that. Good. That makes you more human, and you make me want to be better. They sat on the same rock where she had once rested her twisted ankle. Do you remember? She asked. I do. I wanted to carry you everywhere after that. Well, now I walk on my own, she said, smiling. And still I want to walk beside you. She looked at him. Noah, is this a speech, a confession, or are you just being dramatic again? He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small wooden box, hand-carved. Emma froze. Is that what I think it is? He opened the box. Inside a ring with a small detail carved into it, the flower she loved. The one they'd found together in the village's medicinal garden. I thought about making a big gesture, but then I realized our story didn't start with anything fancy. It started with honesty, with stumbles, with courage, with a backpack, and a misunderstanding. She laughed, tears already welling in her eyes. So I ask you, Emma Carter, will you keep building this thing called love with me? She bit her lip, trying not to cry. Only if we build it with strong bricks. No patchwork jobs. Reinforced bricks, I promise. Then yes, I accept. He slipped the ring onto her finger, and the kiss that followed wasn't just sealing a promise. It was the celebration of two paths crossing in the most unexpected way. The wedding happened months later. No big show, just friends, the village volunteers, and the children as flower girls and ring bearers. Emma wore a simple dress that seemed made of breeze. Noah wore white, both barefoot, standing in the grass. During the vows, she said, "When I met you, I thought you were a con artist, and in a way you you stole my peace, my quiet, and then my heart." Everyone laughed, Noah most of all. He replied, "When I met you, I thought you were a mess, and I was right. But you were also the most beautiful and brave mess I'd ever seen. And in that mess I found my place in the world." They kissed to applause flower petals and the warm smiles of those who had witnessed not just a union but a transformation. The wedding was simple, but every detail held truth. After the ceremony, while friends still danced under yellow lights strung between old trees, Emma and Noah slipped away. They climbed the small hill hand in hand, laughing breathless as if escaping into a world that finally felt right. At the top they stopped, still catching their breath. "I don't know if you've noticed," Noah said with a crooked smile, "but I just married the woman who once hit me with a backpack at the airport. And I married the arrogant CEO who thought kindness was a luxury. Hey, I was a rough diamond. You polished me." She laughed, and the sound was proof that their love had moved beyond a twist of fate and become a choice. "Did you know that day when you showed up at the cafe I had already given up? Given up on what? On myself. On trying. On believing someone like you could exist." Noah took her hands, looking into her eyes with that calm way only she knew. "And that same day I'd just been told I was a good investor but a lousy human being. They said I had zero ability to connect with people, and then you showed up with that courage, that stubbornness, that chaos, and I knew that even without knowing it, I was being rescued." She sighed, resting her head against his chest. "And now, Emma, I just want to live it all with you. Every project, every sleepless night, every mistake, and every win. With you, only with you." The days after the wedding brought far more work than rest, but also more love than any honeymoon could offer. The weeks passed quickly. Between community meetings, food deliveries, planning new education centers, and honest talks on the porch, the two of them were building something more than a routine. They were building a life, and then one evening Emma waited for him in the kitchen. She was nervous. Not the kind of nervous that comes from fear, but from knowing something big was about to change everything. Noah walked in with a wrinkled shirt, messy hair, and tired eyes. "Hey, love." "What a day," he began, but stopped when he saw her nervous smile. "Hey, will you sit with me?" "Of course. You've got that look. Did something happen?" Emma took a white envelope from her pocket and silently handed it to him. Noah opened it. It was a test result. He took a few seconds to react. "Is this?" She nodded, eyes brimming. "Yes, we're going to be 3. Noah stayed quiet for a moment. Then he got up, walked around the table, and hugged her tightly, his face buried in her neck. "I thought my heart couldn't hold any more love, but now it's overflowing. I'm scared," she admitted softly. "Me too, but it's the good kind of fear, the kind you feel when you're about to live the greatest love of your life." They stayed like that for a while, just breathing together, already forming their first moment as a family. Emma's pregnancy wasn't full of glamour or Instagram posts, but it was beautiful. At every ultrasound, Noah got emotional. Every time the baby kicked, he talked to her belly like their daughter could already understand. "Did you know your dad used to be a boring CEO before you came along?" She doesn't need to know that, Emma would joke. She needs to know, "You changed me, and now she's going to change both of us." When they found out it was a girl, Emma made a suggestion. "How about Lily?" "Lily," he repeated, testing the sound. "Lily." "Yes, Lily. Like the sky we saw on that hill. Lily like the courage we had to stay together. Lily like you." In the last week of her pregnancy, Emma had a very specific wish. She wanted to return to the village. She wanted their daughter to be born where it all began. Don't ask me why. I just feel like it has to be there." Noah didn't question it. He took care of everything, talked to the doctors, put together a support plan, and prepared their old house in the village. "It's going to be okay," he said, holding her hand during the trip. "Even if I yell at you. Especially if you yell, that's how I'll know we're doing this right." Lily was born on a sunny morning with the windows wide open and the scent of fresh grass filling the room. Emma cried. Noah cried. The nurse cried. When he held his daughter for the first time, his hands were shaking. "Hi, little one. It's me, the guy your mom thought was trying to rob an old lady at the airport. But actually I was just waiting for you." Lily, eyes closed and face calm, seemed to be listening. Emma watched from the bed, her heart full. "You're going to be a wonderful father," she said, "only because I have you to guide me." He sat down at the edge of the bed and pressed his forehead to hers. "Thank you for everything, for giving us this love. We built this together, brick by brick, message by message, care by care." The next few months were chaotic, sleepless nights, diapers, colic, and an avalanche of emotions, but they were also the happiest months of their lives. Noah learned how to change diapers with surprising skill. Emma learned to trust her instincts more than any book. And Lily grew with her mother's bright laughter and her father's calm eyes. "She's going to have your personality," Noah would say, "and your stubbornness and our courage. We're each other's biggest adventure, and now our best creation." One late afternoon, sitting on the porch of the village house, Lily sleeping in Noah's arms, and Emma resting her head on his shoulder, the world felt at peace. "Remember when you said you were a mistake?" she asked quietly. "I was a necessary mistake. No, you were the plot twist I didn't know I needed, and you were the lucky break I didn't know I deserved." She kissed him gently. "I love you, Noah. I love you, Emma. And I love everything we built. Even the hard parts. Even the chaos. Especially because of the chaos. Because it's in the chaos that we find out who really wants to stay." They looked at each other. Then they looked at Lily sleeping peacefully, as if the world was too light to worry about. And it was because now her world was made of love from a mother who learned to love herself by being loved from a father, who learned to love by taking off his armor from two people who met at an airport between a backpack and a misunderstanding, and who. Now there on that porch were three, an unlikely trio, but absolutely perfect.